Hey, Papa Trades! Oh, I'm already in the Christmas spirit. We're going to do a video analysis update of Marathon Patent Group, BITO, Bit Digital, Bit Farms, the Commodity Index ETF GSG, TTEK, a telehealth company, Amcor PLC, Roku, JetBlue, AMC Theaters, GameStop, and Stag Industrial. So let's get right into it. I talked about how Marathon Patent Group was setting a bear trap, as they call it in classical trading. One, two, wave three makes the highest high on the RSI, a shallow wave four, and a wave five that ends with momentum divergence, forming a clean leading diagonal for a large wave one, wave A. For Elliott wave theory, this is a wave two, wave B. At the 61.8% retracement, and from this low, a small wave 1 and wave 2 had formed. That's where the invalidation of 15.31 came from. And so I said that this correction against that low was a bear trap. It does look like that's going to be the case. And we talked about some corollary evidence that this was going to be the case with other tickers, which we'll get into. But for now, I still believe 15.31 is going to hold. The length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low is denoted with this line right here, and that's going to take Marathon Patent Group up to 44, possibly the low 50s, before a shallow wave 4 and a wave 5 higher. So that's Marathon Patent Group. We'll see if it gets running. It has some corollary evidence, of course. In the Bitcoin sector, we see BITO 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, large wave 1, wave A. I talk about a similar thing with BITX. But this ETF, we are going to see wave 5 make the highest high. I've talked about how that suggests Bitcoin will trade like a commodity, which is interesting for Elliott wave theorists. We don't need to get into that in this video, but this is 5 waves up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then from this low, from this high, I should say, an A, B, C correction ends wave 2, wave B. So this is wave 1, wave A. This is wave 2, wave B. At the 61.8% retracement, just like Mara, looking for wave 3, wave C. I own BITO from the 10 range. I've collected dividends this whole time, and I expect that to continue. Speaking of collecting dividends, which I do a lot with Bitcoin in many ways, this ETF right here, EETH, might be the next BITO. I've talked about this being a very similar, juicy setup from EETH. It's now paying dividends 1A, ABC, wave 2, wave B. I took the 100 to 127.2% extension of the length of wave A, placed the wave B high. That's where this wave C ended for wave 2, wave B. And so I'm expecting a wave 3 is in progress. That's going to take this ETF up to a new all-time high. Call it the hundreds. That's more corollary evidence. That's all just corollary evidence for Marathon Patent Group. Very similar for Bit Digital. We can zoom in and see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 1, wave 2, and then from this low, wave 1, wave 2, smoked out of the park like Bit Deer Technologies and many others. The length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low is the minimum wave 3 target. I talked about why the 127.2% extension to the 61.8% extension of wave 1 is going to be where wave 3 most likely ends. That's the 127.2% extension of the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low, lining up with the 61.8% extension of just wave 1, making that box from 7.93 to 8.20. I expect that's going to be where wave 3 ends before a shallow wave 4 that retests the wave 1 high and a wave 5 higher. Again, all corollary evidence for Marathon Patent Group, just like Bit Farms, which might have been a little extra. I covered Bit Farms pretty thoroughly in my video last night, but very similar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 1, wave 2, and then from this low, another wave 1 and another wave 2. I'm looking for 1.65 to hold and for a wave 3 to begin with Bit Farms as well. I suspect it will be joining the party. Speaking of parties, a good way to know when the next party is planned and not be a loser that's not invited to the party is by looking at unusual options volume. So that's where we're going to get some of these stocks in this video. I'll now turn your attention to Amcor PLC. We see 972% unusual options volume with a 99% call bias. We're also going to see TTEK, TTEK Holdings down here, 535% unusual options volume with, again, 99% call bias. So we'll check out those two. And then from the ETF world, we're going to be looking at GSG. Look at Misty right there. Massive, massive calls bought for Misty. But we're going to look at GSG actually. These 200 contracts were enough to trigger 589% unusual options volume for GSG. This is a commodities ETF. And I believe right here we're going to see it's holding quite a few commodities sectors. It looks like bar chart isn't going to list them. The iShares GSCI Commodity Index Trust seeks to track the results of a fully collateralized investment in futures contracts of an index composed of a diversified group of commodities futures. So we'll see what they bought. It's only 200 contracts, but it was unusual. This ETF is very similar to DBA, and it's a small amount of money for these 22 strike contracts, these calls for 1220. Again, not a lot of money, but we've seen very similar things with DBA in this sector, and I expect GSG is going to follow that agriculture ETF. We zoom out to the 5-year, go monthly. This is very cleanly subdivided into 1, 2. I'm gonna put that 5 up there, but this is really 3, 4, 5 waves. Those 5 waves make a large wave 1. And this is where a short wave 2 has ended. And then from this low, I believe, a small wave 1 and wave 2. Above 18.64 is going to be the invalidation. A little tighter is 19.41. GSG is another name, another ETF suggesting that commodities could be going much higher. I am prepared for this directly through actually a Fidelity mutual fund that tracks commodities. So I'll get into that. Maybe give this video 20 likes. I'll show you guys my Fidelity mutual fund position. That'd be fun. So we'll look at this, but GSG going up to 37 above 18.64. It's a very simple thing to say, but the ramifications are that things are going to be extremely expensive. And it's interesting to note the market's at an all-time high while this is happening. We look at TTEK. We had that unusual options volume. Let's see what they bought. 474 for December, but we saw 4,000 contracts. Yes, here they are, the 4,000 contracts. The biggest lot were these these 5 strike calls for 40 bucks a piece. 2,312 were bought, and then someone bought 2,000 contracts for $1 a piece for the 7.50 strike. So they stand to make potentially a very large amount of money from those $1 contracts. That's very interesting lottery position that they took right there. So anyway, that's TTEK. This caught my eye, not just because the unusual options volume. We look at the book value is 0.74, and the price to sales is 0.09. TTEK Holdings is a customer experience technology and services company. It focuses on the design, implementation, and delivery of customer experience. The company delivers outcome-based engagement solutions through TTEK digital consultancy, which designs and builds human-centric tech enabled insight-driven customer experience solutions for clients and TTEK. So this is TTEK Holdings. I thought it was a telehealth company. It looks like that's not what this company does. More in the software field, but it has a very interesting setup. We see 59% insider shareholders, 38% institutional shareholders. That caught my eye, and I do think it's considered a value stock with a 0.74 book value, the price to sales of 0.09. It is having a little bit of a debt problem, negative 1.52 interest coverage ratio. So this might be a rates lowering play. It might be, telehealth. When was the last time tele stuff rallied? It was the pandemic. So we'll look at that. In later videos, should that be necessary, but I just thought the wave count was actually extremely simple. That this is a large wave 1 or wave A from a 25-year low right here. This low is put in at 3.31. So it's very, it's very wide, I guess, or it's more of just if this low holds. The Elliott wave is that this is wave 1 and an ABC wave 2. I can't label this ABC correction, but I do believe that that is what that is. And so above 3.31, it's just a very simple setup that, well, yeah, this is wave 1, wave A. This is an ABC, wave 2, wave B. So above 3.31, new wave 3, wave C to beyond the wave 1 high is just the Elliott wave expectation. It's a little too simple for a lot of people, and that's completely fine. But this is just something that I've noticed. 113.37 is then the minimum wave 3 target above 3.31. So bizarre risk reward ratio, and we are seeing that unusual options volume for TTEK. Amcor PLC, a little more conventional here. This has been a repeated unusual options volume that we've seen. Nice 5% dividend here. Amcor PLC is a global leader in developing and producing responsible packaging for food, beverage, pharmaceutical, medical, home and personal care, and other products through its flexible and rigid packaging. So it's a packaging stock, specialty cartons, and closures. It helps leading companies in protecting their products and differentiating their brands. So very unique packaging company. A 3.61 interest coverage ratio, very good. 5%, 6% return on assets and profit margin. Only 45% institutional shareholders, but it's looking good financially. It's got this dividend that grows, and it has a 70% dividend payout ratio that needs to be compared. But a little more, that was more of a value stock with TTEK. This is more of the stock appears to be in a healthier dividend paying position, whereas TTEK was more of a value by the blood, so to speak. It hasn't been on that screen though, not that I know of. Let's look at Amcor PLC. We're gonna need to look at the weekly actually. This is a wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves impulse. And it forms a large wave 1. And this is the ABC wave 2 correction. A, B, C wave 2. I believe from this low, a small wave 1 and wave 2 forms. And then this is another wave 1 and another wave 2. I'll make this blue to denote it's a different degree. So if we are above 8.78, and very tight would be 9.40. The reason they're buying these calls, which we'll see what they bought, is the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low can be met. And that can take Amcor PLC all the way up to 16.23. It's forming a 1-2-1-2 wave 3 of wave 3 nest. So that could happen a little more aggressively than we've seen the price action recently. They were for January. Yeah, most of these are going to be for this January liquid expiration. So when January 17th, 2025 comes around, that is going to be a massive expiration date right before the inauguration. We see 6,300 10-strike calls and 12,300 11-strike calls for Amcor PLC. ROKU, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 1, forming an expanding diagonal. In an ABC, wave 2 correction, this is a large wave 1, ABC wave 2. So the 127.2% extension of the length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low gives the ideal wave 3 target. That's all the way up at 132. And the 100% extension is 118. So there's quite a bit of upside for ROKU. Defining the downside is really the challenge. 53.32, the 78.6% retracement is a little wide from 68.71. This low of 60.05 is really the ideal level. And ROKU can begin a wave 3 of wave 3 and head up towards the 130s. We're going to skip JetBlue and save it for a different video, just in with these meme stocks right now. I've got AMC Theaters. This is a wave 1 and a wave 2 at the 78.6% retracement. And it has a little bit of a leading indicator from Cinemark Holdings that has exploded into this wave 3 of wave 3. And now it also has GameStop that has formed a wave 1 and a wave 2 and another wave 1 and another wave 2. It's climbing the right side of the base, just as I talked about. And I believe GameStop is heading up into the 50s. Now, ideally, it would make more sense that AMC Theaters is going to be correlated with Cinemark. But of course, we've seen the market correlate AMC Theaters with GameStop. It looks like it's going to be rallying, in my opinion, within this wave 3 with GameStop. And so I am looking for GameStop to keep climbing the right side of this base as anticipated. And we're going to see AMC Theaters, in my opinion, play follow the leader, whether it's to Cinemark or to GameStop. This is wave 1. I expect this is wave 2 at the 78.6% retracement. The length of wave 1 placed at the wave 2 low gives a wave 3 target of 13 above 4.12, 4.04, 4.03. 4.0 is 4.03.